So the anime of Attack on Titan has finally come to an end. The end of a great and amazing show that I would definitely still consider a masterpiece. But as someone who's coming from the manga community, it was quite surprising to see from the anime onlys, the people who've only seen the anime, have such a positive reception to the ending. So this video is perhaps going to bridge a gap and give you guys perhaps an understanding, if you're somebody who watched the final special and say, hey, this is some pretty good stuff, for you to gain a proper understanding of why the manga community and so many other anime onlys have such a disdain for this ending. And today the focus is definitely going to be on the main character, Erenyeager. There are many other plot holes that exist in the show, but the way in which the ending operates and alters his character is pivotal to why so many people now are not happy with the way that Isayama stuck the landing. You see this scene right here? This is absolutely not how you do a plot twist. This scene here kind of breaks so many things and completely shatters his character into a million tiny pieces. And that's not an exaggeration. As someone who read the manga in its entirety, Erenyeager and his growth and character development is one of the best in all time if we're talking about main character progressions. He's absolutely phenomenal, and I'd call him and this anime a modern classic. Up there with Berserk, up there with Vinland Saga, up there with Vagabond. But after this subsequent ending and seeing how Isayama ended up altering his character to such a degree, that has completely changed, unfortunately, and that's the case for so many other people. That's where all these memes, this Virgin era and Chad era, have even come from, because of this huge and horrible assassination of this great character. I started to become a manga reader of Attack on Titan way back after the end of Season 3 Part 1. After we got that very eerie and very scary ending right there when they were showing Mikasa, Levi and Eren on a roof with some burnt individuals that we find out later to be Armin and Bertolt. After that, I knew that I had to take the plunge and go headfirst right into the manga. And from that, I realized, okay, this is probably one of the best pieces of fiction that I've ever read in my entire life, and not at all trying to exaggerate or in any sort of way. I thought it was truly something special, and Attack on Titan is an anime and show with so many climactic moments that are so sensational. The show will stick with me forever. And as you become a manga reader, you get drip-fed this content month after month after month. Because of that, you end up spending more time in communities and Reddits and having conversations about this great show. And thanks to Attack on Titan, I was able to actually properly discover Reddit and join so many other great communities, such as the Titan Folk subreddit, which I'm still active on today, and many other things and other hobbies that I enjoy to a great deal, such as gaming. So, I'll be very transparent with all of you. During this final arc of Attack on Titan, I was definitely a staunch yeagerist. I was supporting Yeager, erenyeager, Yelena. I was supporting that entire cohort and very interested to see how their plan was going to play out. How are they going to use the power of the rumbling? And I was very interested to see what was Eren's true plan. What was he concealing from us this entire time? We'd gotten glimpses from his actions, but we didn't have a full understanding of the way in which he thought. After the Pards arc, we're able to get a solid and real confirmation of Eren's true feelings and what his motivations were. I thought Eren's ruthfulness was admirable. While his goals were definitely atrocious and something that nobody can support and stand by, I could understand his plight and reasoning. The only way true peace could be attained was complete annihilation on either side, and Erenyeager wasn't going to let that slide at any cost. I knew that Erenyeager was unfortunately going to fail though, as soon as the story shifted focus to the newly formed alliance with the Scouts and the Marlians, and of course, as you all know, Eren did lose, but by his own choice. What makes this all odd is that he absolutely had the power to, but uses the excuse that no, I'm not going to take away your freedom and you're free to stop me. An interesting choice of words. But the reason that so many people, including myself, had so many issues with the endings was the events of the finale completely assassinating Eren's character fundamentally. a person you've spent so much time analyzing, admiring, and so many other things. More so, it makes it seem like all his efforts were for naught, and his actions and decisions throughout the series seem absolutely thoughtless, especially after finding out about this strange, unbuilt up love for Mikasa that he was keeping secret this entire time, that honestly wasn't built up even to a smidgen. And it makes it very odd as you consider the conviction that Erenyeager has during some of these very pivotal scenes in the show. You're like, what's going on? Like, why was he so excited? Why was he showing so much vigor and all of this thing during this entire time if he's just going to give up by the end of it all and give the Alliance and the other side the win? It seems very odd. A scene that comes to my mind is when he's over there in pods alongside Yeager, his brother, and he breaks off those chains so he can go and stop Ymir. He didn't have full vision of what was going to happen next, but what in the world was pushing him to move forward so much if he was ultimately not going to complete his goal? To get a complete grasp of what I mean when so many other people and myself as well say that Erenyeager's character was essentially assassinated by the subsequent ending, we first need to establish the type of person that Erenyeager had become after the time skip. Chad Eren. This is the name or moniker that we gave to this great character after we saw his progression change. He went to Mali alone, without knowing that he would get support from the scouts, all to deal a lethal blow to Mali and attain the power of the rumbling. He was no longer the boy who screamed and wailed from the heartache of this cruel world. No, he had finally matured. No longer blinded by searing rage or perpetual naivety, he had finally a full grasp of the world and how it viewed Eldians. From then on, he knew what he had to do. That maturity allowed him to confront Rhino without hate, but more so pity. He had empathy as he was about to commit the same atrocities to save his world, the island of paradise. Calculated, efficient, deadly are all adverbs we could use to describe Erenyeager. A man no longer shackled by the notion to trust his comrades. He learned that long ago when Annie massacred Levi's squad. He realized that trusting your comrades is not always the correct choice. He chose to take the fate of paradise into his own hands, colluding with his brother Yeager and creating the Yeagerists. Erenyeager chose to take the entire burden of Eldian hate upon himself and destroyed the world. He sacrificed his body, many and many lives, and more importantly, put in the balance the bonds of the people he loved the most, the ones he wanted to ultimately protect by the end of it all. Erenyeager chose to keep moving forward, suffering selflessly for the survival of his people, his home. All of that great progression, all of that great character development is all shattered in this one scene. And it's not that it was shattered in this one scene, more so it was a confirmation of all of the things that myself and many others truly feared. We realized that in this moment he truly had no idea what he was doing. We realized that the image of who he really is was all but a fabrication. Not even that, it feels like he made a complete 180, a complete character switch. It just seems completely odd. All this time and effort building up this character who's so strong, all of it to be a facade and to be something that was truly inferior. A young boy chasing a concept, an idea that he never truly understood, and because of that foolishness, billions and billions die. It's a shame. Where did all this conviction go that he had from when he was a child? Where did it all dissipate to? Why did Eren allow his friends to stop the rumbling? Why stop at 80%? Why not finish the job completely to quell the threat of Eldian annihilation? Why did Eren never confess his true feelings to Mikasa? Why did he choose to not reveal his plans to his friends, maybe not the entire scouting regiment? And another odd thing is, why were none of the Alliance members supporting Erenyeager even in a small context? As the choices they were making was definitely going to put the nation of Eldia at risk. And this may be a bit of a side note, but why did Annie and Raina get a happy ending while characters who suffered much more and sacrificed more couldn't even get a smidgen of it? Why did Armin thank Eren for his foolishness? Killing most of the world won't bring any peace. In fact, by not destroying the world entirely, you've pissed off the remaining ones even more. And lastly, why would Erenyeager make the power of the Titans disappear without completely destroying the world? Does he not realize that Eldia is now an easy target without the Titans? What is going on? Without that very, very powerful war piece, Eldia stands no chance against any outside threats. And I guess that ending scene in the final special confirms that. What seems the most odd in that ending scene is that the retaliation seemed to come many, many years later instead of being somewhat instant. All of these questions have annoyed and infuriated many of us. For a man who aimed to change the world and bring true freedom to paradise, his actions instead seem to have doomed it with assurance. Now, obviously, we're all imperfect humans, and that imperfection is beautifully perpetuated in Attack on Titan. This world is cruel. And of course, true peace can't be attained, especially not through a character such as Erenyeager. But that wasn't Erenyeager's goal. His goal wasn't to achieve world peace. His goal was to completely destroy the chance of a complete genocide of the Eldian race, particularly those of Paradise Island. His one and only goal failed, and more so it should have failed in a realistic context. It seems odd that Mikasa, Jean, Ryan and all these characters were able to live a long life in peace when Attack on Titan is definitely built upon a realistic world model. In what world are you going to allow the people that pretty much annihilated most of the world to go on living free and not retaliate almost immediately? It seems very, very odd. Now, outside of Erenyeager, there are of course other smaller gripes that are quite annoying, and people see that as issues with the subsequent ending of Attack on Titan. But I'd have to say the way in which the main character, Erenyeager, was handled was definitely the main issue that people have with it. As I mentioned before, Annie and Reiner had pretty nice endings and suffered very few and little consequences for their action, which definitely goes against them. One of the important themes of Attack on Titan, that this world is cruel and you will suffer, especially if you make others suffer. And geez, the icing on the cake, bro, are you guys serious? You're really going to make Eren being responsible to sending the Titan that went and killed his mom? Was that absolutely necessary, Isayama? Was he just put another nail in the coffin, cherry on top with the sprinkles on top? He just completely annihilated, butchered. He sent RPGs to whatever semblance was left of Erenyeager's character. Note that, guys, I'm not angry that Eren was broken on the inside. That was actually pretty obvious if you put some real dedication into analyzing his character. But this was a complete character assassination, coupled with the completely foolish decisions that he makes, unfortunately makes this ending a dumpster fire in my opinion. Now, I've seen many anime onlys enjoying it. You know, people who've only seen anime, they say, oh, this is some good stuff, bro. But maybe it's because as manga readers, we've spent more time analyzing the show overall, as you're like reading the chapters month to month and making memes and this stuff, and having conversations in the subreddits. Perhaps we're just simply more invested in the show. But for you to say that the ending is great, it's a little bit of a stretch when you begin to analyze it a little bit objectively. A complete 180 character personality change, an extremely underdeveloped romance, and questionable final decisions made by the main character makes this entire pie fall apart. Now, I understand if you disagree, everybody's going to have different opinions. And while you may disagree with me, if you were to look at ending videos, I want you to Google ending videos for Attack on Titan that came out about 2 years ago when the manga came out, you'll realize that these sentiments are definitely not new and aren't original in any sense. I just brought up some points that were more so unique to me that I saw as issues that perpetuated the entire manga, and why the ending ends up missing a lot of pivotal and legendary scenes. I want you to also look back at Erenyeager's character fundamentally. See how he's acted, look at his conviction, look at him trying so hard, look at him forcing himself to suffer, to protect for the greater good, and then you see the type of person that he is today. Now, Personally, I let go of the hate or the anger I had towards the endings. The feelings I rather have now are feelings of indifference. While after close analysis and after that ending scene with Armin, it was clear as day that Eren's persona that we were showed after the time skip was clearly a complete fabrication. But despite that, as someone who enjoys great character development and enjoys truly sensational characters, I can still admire and appreciate the character that Erenyeager portrayed himself to be. A man who is willing to do whatever it takes to keep the people he loves safe, even sacrificing one's own humanity.